Former Grand Slam champion receives wildcard to join Venus Williams at the ATX Open. Former Grand Slam champion receives wildcard to join Venus Williams at the ATX Open. Receiving the wildcard, Williams told the tournament's official Instagram account how excited she was to compete. "I'm so excited to be heading to Austin and playing my first ATX Open," said Williams. "The city has such great energy and I've heard the fans are incredible. I'm looking forward to playing both singles and doubles in front of such a passionate tennis community." She isn't the only Grand Slam champion set to compete, however, as the 2017 French Open winner has also received a wildcard. Yelena Ostapenko receives ATX Open wildcard. The ATX Open shared the following announcement on Instagram. "Wow, the field just keeps getting more insane, Austin," they said. "We're adding another Grand Slam champ to the mix, Yelena Ostapenko." Ostapenko won the French Open in 2017, defeating Romania's Simona Halep in the final. She hasn't been able to add to her Grand Slam tally since, though, and has only won 2 matches on the WTA Tour this year. Having seen Ostapenko struggle in 2026, some fans blamed her need for a wild card on her form. That's not the case, however, as Ostapenko's ranking is easily strong enough for her to qualify for the ATX Open directly. She simply missed the entry deadline, so the tournament organizers offered her a second chance via a wild card. Whether she can make the most of the wild card and win the title in Texas remains to be seen. Who won the 2025 ATX Open? 2024 U.S. Open finalist Jessica Pegula traveled to Texas as the #1 seed last year. Making light work of her first 3 opponents, Arantxa Rus, Nuria Perez-Diaz, and Anna Blinkova, Pegula reached the semifinals without dropping more than 3 games in a set. However, it was in the semifinals that Pegula had her toughest test of the tournament. The American was pushed all the way by Australia's Ajla Tomljanovic, surviving a 3-setter to win 6-1, 4-6, 6-3. Then, in the final, Pegula defeated McCartney Kessler, 7-5, 6-2, to clinch her 7th career title. She'll return as the top seed in 2025, but it remains to be seen if she can defend her title in a field that includes Grand Slam champions Williams and Ostapenko. The 2026 ATX Open begins on Monday, February 23rd. Where will Yelena Ostapenko compete before the ATX Open? There's plenty of tennis to be played this month before the ATX Open begins. Ostapenko will now travel to Doha for the WTA 1000 Qatar Open. The Latvian reached the final in Qatar a year ago, losing out to Amanda Anisimova in straight sets, 4-6, 3-6. She'll then head to Dubai, where she lost her opening match in 2025. Set to defend over 650 points this month, Ostapenko will need to make a few deep runs in the Middle East, or else she might need to start asking for wildcards more regularly. The 2026 Qatar Open is scheduled to begin on Monday, February 9th, before the Dubai Tennis Championships start on Monday, February 16th. A wild card of time and will, when champions return to Austin. The email arrived quietly, the way destiny often does these days. No trumpets, no fireworks, just a subject line and a promise. A wild card. One word, heavy with implication. For a former Grand Slam champion, it wasn't just an invitation to a tennis tournament, it was an invitation to memory, to muscle ache and morning light, to the echo of applause that once felt eternal. The ATX Open had made its call. Austin, Texas, sun-warmed courts, restless crowds, and a tournament still writing its own identity, was about to host more than matches. It was about to host a reunion with history. And standing on the other side of that wild card acceptance was Venus Williams, already announced, already looming like a constellation that never quite fades from the sky. 2 champions. 2 timelines. 1 court. Venus's presence alone carries weight. She doesn't simply enter a draw, she bends it. Her name stretches across decades of tennis evolution, wooden rackets in childhood memories, power tennis before it had a name, battles that reshaped how women's tennis was played, paid, and perceived. When Venus Williams steps onto a court, the lines between past and present blur. She is history in motion. Now, she would not be alone. The former Grand Slam champion, once a headline machine, once a Sunday afternoon inevitability, had been living in the quieter chapters of life. Fewer cameras. Different routines. A body that remembers everything, even when the mind tries to forget. Championships don't vanish when the ranking does. They linger in scar tissue, in reflexes that fire before thought, in dreams where match points replay with cinematic clarity. The wild card changed the temperature of those memories. Austin isn't Paris or Melbourne or New York. It doesn't have ivy-covered walls or decades of mythology etched into concrete. But that's precisely why it matters. The ATX Open is young enough to be generous, bold enough to believe that tennis is not only about what's next, but about what still lives. For fans, the announcement felt like a door swinging open. Social media buzzed, not with cynicism, but curiosity. Could they still move like that? Would the shots still bite? Was this nostalgia, or something sharper? The truth is, tennis has always loved a comeback. Not the polished, corporate version, but the human one. The kind fueled by stubbornness, by unfinished sentences written into a career. Wildcards exist for players like this, not because they need charity, but because the sport needs context. Practice sessions told their own quiet stories. On adjacent courts, Venus worked through drills with the calm of someone who has long since made peace with expectations. Across the net, the returning champion chased timing like a ghost, occasionally finding it, occasionally shaking their head when the ball sailed long. There was laughter. There was frustration. There was an unmistakable seriousness beneath it all. They didn't come to Austin to wave. They came to compete. The locker room energy shifted. Younger players, raised on highlight reels and Wikipedia stats, snuck glances, measuring themselves against legends they'd once watched from couches and classrooms. This is the strange magic of tennis. Generations don't just replace each other, they overlap. They test each other. On match day, the crowd arrived early. Some wore vintage apparel. Some brought signs. Some simply brought curiosity. When Venus's name was announced, the applause rolled in warm and familiar. When the wildcard recipient followed, it came differently, not louder, but deeper, like recognition rather than surprise. This wasn't about reclaiming the world #1 ranking or rewriting record books. It was about presence, about proof, about reminding the sport, and perhaps themselves, that greatness doesn't expire on schedule. Every rally carried subtext. Every hold of serve felt like punctuation. There were flashes of brilliance, a backhand threaded through space, a return taken early, a fist pump that escaped before restraint could catch it. There were also reminders of time, longer changeovers, deeper breaths, knees wrapped with care. And still, the ball kept coming back. When the match ended, win or loss mattered less than expected. The handshake at the net lingered a half-second longer than usual. Two champions acknowledging not just each other, but the strange privilege of still being here.